Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm privileged to welcome a very senior and respected tech entrepreneur from San Francisco, USA, Mr. Piyush Malik. Piyush, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Great to be here. I have just learned about your immense background and the progress that you've made in the last 4.5 years. So kudos, first of all, to you on bringing this show to the wider audiences. So I look forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much. Piyush is the chief digital and transformation officer with Veridic Solutions. He's a startup executive, an entrepreneur, a board advisor, a thought leader, a speaker, and a business technology transformation leader, and an angel investor in the domain of emerging technologies. Given his amazing background, he's obviously been recognized and felicitated several times. So, Piyush, before we talk technology, tell me about your own amazing journey in brief.
All right. I was born in New Delhi many decades ago. And after my engineering education over there, I went on a nomadic spree. My first job was in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. I was Piyush 1.0 was a telecom engineer.
Okay.
And after 2 years, I pivoted into software engineering. And after 4 more years of that, I pivoted into management through my MBA education. And one thing led to another. I didn't have to look for a job, except the first time during my college campus interviews. And time too, I had few offers, but I'm glad I chose what I chose and had to take this journey. So fast forward few decades, and then I would say after 7 years working in India, I got an opportunity. I used to get an opportunity to go to the US all the time, and I would say, hey, I never want to leave India. That was the plank on which I was brought up. And in fact, that's how me and my wife met and agreed to marry as well, because neither she nor I wanted to leave India. But somehow 1 year after marriage, an opportunity arose, and for a 2-month assignment. So I came here on a 2-month assignment. It's been 27 years now.
Amazing. And as this is, the rest is history.
Well, history is yet to be created, because I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm somebody who looks forward to every day to do something different, learn something new, and hopefully give back to the world along the way as well.
Amazing. So let's talk now about a little bit about Veridic and technology. As a chief digital and transformation officer at Veridic, what are some of the key challenges in driving digital information in today's business landscape?
So essentially, I've always been in the services industry with first with PwC, and then IBM combined 20 plus years. And then when I pivoted into the world of digital transformation, it was in the time that I wanted to do a startup. And I failed at doing that startup. After 6 months of trying to raise funds, I actually was recruited by the same VC into another firm of his where he had invested. So the thing was that if I take that on and get them to a logical conclusion and exit, then I would have funds for my own startup. So with that premise, I said, okay, it'll take about 18 months. And then it took me 5.5 years before exiting. And long story short, along the way, I have dealt with a lot of clients around the world dealing with digital transformation. And so on that plank, when the opportunity came along with Veridic, they were doing traditional cloud-based business. And I wanted to build a product. And I also am client-facing, and I like to serve clients. So I was given charge of the digital business unit to go start, and whatever it means. So what that means is, while internally I'm transforming the company, externally I'm helping other clients transform their businesses given the market conditions, given the technical innovations happening. So it's a combination of a lot of things. So I would say I see myself as a transformation agent and a catalyst for clients to embed technology in their operations. And again, it's not any technology. I focus on data-driven technologies and applied AI.
Fascinating. And since you focus a lot on emerging technology, Piyush, my question is, what role does emerging technology play in shaping the future of business?
So emerging technologies in business. So I would say businesses are always dependent on what's happening in the market, what their end customers are desiring. So I would say the business and technology are interdependent, and innovations in both technology and business models, they create offerings that shape the future. For example, I want to give you an example. So you are old enough to know when the computers originally came, there was a mainframe, and then
and there was
a
COBOL and Fortran.
Yeah, some of those that, excuse me, kids of today haven't even heard of.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I'm talking to a compatriot who has seen these things. So in those times, if you look from at that time, there was a huge cost of licensing an operating system.
Correct.
So there were proprietary operating systems, and I grew up on VMS systems by digital, and then Unix came along. Unix disrupted that market, and then there were various flavors of Unix. Berkeley, US, Berkeley distribution, and then AT&T had one, IBM had one, AIX, and then Solaris from Sun. So all of these were having that market fight.
Right.
And all along that came the open source movement with Linux. And it was that time, if Linux hadn't come, this open source movement wouldn't be what it is today. And Linux led to commoditization of data centers that we see in today's cloud world. And we also look at the mobile revolution through Linux, because Android, which is the largest operating system for handheld mobile devices, it's a derivative of kernel from Linux.
Okay.
So you see how these are interrelated. So the foundation of all these things, and open source movement lowered the cost of computing and lowered the cost of doing business. And as a result, entrepreneurship flourishes, businesses look at more and more innovations, and ultimately it's the benefit to the end consumers like you and me.
Fascinating. And, since you are in this business and you've just spoken about innovation, my next logical question to you, Piyush, is that how can businesses balance the need for innovation with concerns about data security and privacy?
Data security and privacy are very important. And again, one of my roles at PwC was leading the data quality and governance practice worldwide. So we used to have a framework in which governance included quality, privacy, and security. So what we today talk about is privacy by design. You have to design whatever systems you are building. By default, privacy has to be kept in mind. Security is paramount because everything is getting digital. All your bank records are digital. Your health records are digital, and we need to protect all of that. So while innovation demands that we make rapid progress, but the moment you slip on any of these privacy and security aspects, it can literally shatter the trust of the consumer, of the end user of the product. So all my whatever companies that I advise, the startup I'm involved with, I always say never relax on the privacy and security aspects of it. And being small startups, you can always innovate. And the same message goes to even bigger, larger enterprises. The only problem is those incumbents have to dovetail back into their legacy software that they have, or the legacy systems that they have. But at the same time, I'm seeing privacy and security being the bedrock of all big companies as well.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing this. My next question is that, again, I'm going to stay with emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, machine learning, these are what I would still call emerging technologies. So Piyush, how do you see the role of AI evolving in businesses and industries in the coming years?
So Ashutosh, I'll have to give you a full story. I mean,
Okay.
and I do talk about AI. I have been talking about AI for the last, I would say, 15 years, even though it seems like ChatGPT just brought the AI revolution
Absolutely.
about a year back. But I have been in the data and applied AI field for quite some time, 30 years. And AI actually, very first time was in 1956 that the term was coined. And from those days to today, there have been many AI winters and many AI springs. Springs are when there's a renewed hope and a lot of investment goes in, like today, right? So we are at the cusp of a very explosive and interesting period that anything that is branded as AI, people are willing to invest money in it. It was not always so, and there were people who were graduating, completing their PhD during the time of AI winter, and they had to literally wait to even get a job. And today, if somebody speaks Python and has done some machine learning courses, they are easily able to get an AI engineer's job. Coming back to the corporate world, where I cut my teeth in IBM back. Have you heard of the system called IBM Watson? It came in 2011 February. I clearly remember there was a game of Jeopardy that that computer won, and it was for a reason that big companies use game shows as a way of capturing people's imagination. And at that time, we used to not call it AI, we used to call it cognitive computing.
Correct.
And it was nothing but a natural language processing in a specialized use case of answering a question, right? So that was a demonstration, so to say, but it still took 2 years before the commercial entity, the Watson Group, was carved out of IBM Research and IBM Software, and it became a separate business unit. I was there. I know inside. I had incubated team of PhDs in my team, and I had been evangelizing. And I was speaking at the entrepreneurship conferences and the engineering conferences all around during that period. And recently, somebody invited me to speak at an AI conference, and I was researching for that and found something. And back in 2014 and 15, I had given a talk, if the rise of machines and the role of AI. And I ended the conversation and that thing in by saying, if machines do all the work, what will the humans do?
Right.
And I still ask the same question, but there's been a difference of sky of night and day today, from the technology where it was to now. The rapid pace at which the AI technologies are innovating.
Correct.
The democratization of AI is what OpenAI has done, and now there are so many large language models being developed, and so many innovations happening on a daily basis. It's hard to keep up, but this is a time to actually embrace it and not be afraid of it. A lot of people in my circuit always say that, hey, AI is going to take our jobs and we are going to be afraid of it. And think about it. I always give them an example. If you were to oppose, well, you wouldn't have the books that you read today. If the Gutenberg press, when it came back during the first industrial revolution. Likewise, when the cars were being made, the very first car was the replacement of a horse carriage, right? So technology, innovation, and humanity progress together, and we are in for a very big treat with adoption of AI.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, great response. Thank you. My next question, Piyush, is that with all this AI and all the emerging technologies, are there any ethical considerations that need to be kept at the back of one's mind?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always say an AI model built on faulty data will give you faulty responses.
Right.
Uh, an AI model trained on stolen data by unethical means, by not paying royalties to the artists, by that's not the world that we want to leave
Correct.
for our kids. So there are ethical concerns in that, and there are guardrails being put together. I mean, initial exploration and innovation aside, as we are personally, as well as companies, as we are learning how to integrate these technologies within our enterprise, we are learning how to do the things in a proper manner. And so, as part of the AI ethics board, and as part of a responsible tech innovation subgroup, we always advocate for using legitimate means to train our data models, and these machine learning models, AI models, as they will evolve. I think the governments will step in as well, and the governments will ensure that there is adequate measures taken so that we are not infringing on people's rights.
Very interesting. So time for a few more questions. My next question to you is that based on all the knowledge that you have, what are some of the most exciting developments you are seeing at the intersection of technology and society?
Yeah, so one of the biggest concerns that I have is on the cybersecurity side, more so because the way I'm seeing technological evolution of certain technologies, which are not going in a linear way, but in exponential way. What that means is the rapid pace of adoption, as well as rapid pace of innovation in things like quantum computing. That will literally obviate, make today's cyber security software totally obsolete in a 5 to 6 years time. So and we have to learn to stay a step ahead of the bad elements out there. So from that perspective, I would say, while I'm excited about quantum computing, I'm excited about the proliferation of free energy, the solar energy, and personalized medicine, and having computing done by just thoughts as opposed to using any interface. And there are research happening in that field. But it's an exciting time to be alive and be in the tech industry. But as much as I'm excited, there are some concerns as well, as I mentioned. So we have to go and balance it all together.
Very well said. I have time for two more questions. My next question is that what, in your view, are some of the challenges that you see because of all these new emerging technologies?
So one thing is how our society is not able to balance between the soft skills and the hard skills. For example, our kids were born with these devices in their hands, so they spend a lot more time inside, looking at those than spending time playing games outside or doing physical activities outside. And so there's a direct correlation on human health, and not only physical human health, but also mental health. And to me, that's a lot bigger problem, because, as I said in a previous response earlier, if the machines start doing everything, what will the humans do? So the humans need to have some higher purpose in life. They need to have something tangible and something meaningful to them, so that they are stress-free And so the society can become violence-free, and we all can be happy and peaceful.
Great response. Thank you. And my last question to you, Piyush, and I'm now going to ask you to wear your hat as a board advisor, as a thought leader. A lot of startup entrepreneurs will listen to our conversation, and a lot of corporate leaders will listen to our conversation. So my question to you is, what advice do you have for businesses looking to leverage the power of digital innovation in their operations, for startup entrepreneurs and corporate leaders?
So it's a very, very good question, actually. And that's perhaps the toughest thing. So the what they need to look for is use technology just not for the sake of technology, but to fill a need, to fill an unmet need. And as I advise a bunch of the startup founders that I meet on a regular basis, I tell them, you should look at your portfolio of the features that you are trying to put in your product and ask the question to your team, are you building a vitamin or are you building a painkiller? Because it's the painkiller that will stick and that will find product market fit, as opposed to a feature and bells and whistles that can come later. So so whatever you do, you got to transcend the silos within the enterprise. Whatever you are building, it should be able to transcend silos. It should be such that it is taking the organization to the next higher level. And again, with the corporate objective is always benefiting the stakeholders. And I would say that apart from the shareholders and the investors, stakeholders are employees as well. And we have to build a corporate social responsibility aspect as well. And I tell that to even not only the corporate world where I come from, and I've seen good examples of CSR. I tell each of my founders, peers out here, let's build a society where we look out for our employees and for the environment at the same time. While profit is important, let not that be at the cost of hurting our environment. And sustainability is always at the top of my mind.
Absolutely. Well said. And on that note, Piyush, and your wonderful piece of advice to use technology to fill an unmet need. And I love your example of a vitamin versus a painkiller. Thank you so much for speaking to me about your own amazing journey. Thank you for talking to me about so many different aspects of emerging technologies. I think I learned many new things from you today. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck.
Ashutosh, it was great meeting you, and wonderful meeting all of you. In the tradition of Indianness, I would say namaste from my soul to yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.